Hello and welcome back to Talk Finance. Now in this video I will be summing up savings. I feel I have done enough and all the important concepts I've discussed from my previous video, I will be explaining them in detail in this video. So let's get to the content. So at number 1, I'll be discussing being systematic, and then I will explain conservative approach, I will explain capitalization approach, and I will further explain the saving scenario, cost to retire in South Africa, and I will end by discussing progress. You need to be systematic about your life. Everyone wants to succeed, but the steps we take do not reflect our desires. You see, there are some issues we need to overcome. And one of those is that life is difficult. And it's not. Granted, for a lot of people, it has become that over time. But if you haven't entered the corporate world as yet, your page is still blank. And that's a good thing. The number one thing I extremely implore you not to do is go into debt. If there is one thing you should learn from this video, is this: avoid debt at all costs. Debt is not your friend. I feel sorry for those who are watching this, because in the future, if you didn't listen and your life is difficult, you will only have yourself to blame. Because I'll say it again 3 times. Avoid debt at all costs. Avoid debt at all costs. And lastly, avoid debt at all costs. And you'll have those who will ask, but why? I'll tell you why. As you are watching this, 63% of a South African's income is spent on debt. That means if you are getting 10K a month, 6,300 of that is spent on you paying what you owe. Now tell me, where's the freedom in that? You tell people to learn about investing and invest, they'll say, I don't want to play with my money. You tell them save, and internally they have an issue with that. But let them come across apps and sites that will tell them they can turn 1,000 into 10,000 in 3 days, and they'll fly towards that. And this starts with little things like borrowing airtime. This is a perfect example. And I'm quite sure you know the feeling you get when you have to pay that back. Now imagine 63%. And you want to be successful. You won't be unless you equipped yourself with the necessary knowledge. So I'm going to sum up the savings lessons I have shared so far. First and foremost, why did I begin with savings? Why not just jump into investing and everything else? When I began the YouTube channel, there was a trend on social media, I think TikTok, where people were showing how much they've saved, whether it's in a water container, which was good. However, that kind of saving doesn't grow because there is no interest on that money. So learning about saving money is important because it provides a foundation of financial stability and security that is necessary for successful investing. When I taught you the conservative and capitalization methods, I considered these methods as a defensive approach. Meaning, while you are still educating yourself about investing, you can use the interest received from your savings to buy shares. That means if you look at it through my eyes, there is no pressure on you. You don't have to worry or stress yourself about your portfolio. You will learn and adjust smoothly because your principal amount is safely stored in the bank. So with that said, learning about saving money first allows individuals to develop healthy financial habits and a strong financial foundation, which can help provide greater flexibility and stability in the future. You can then begin to explore the world of investing with greater confidence and knowledge. Hit the thumbs up button to support and grow the channel to extend its reach. Thank you so much for that. And subscribe for more insights and share with friends and family and those around you. And press the notification bell to be notified when a new video is released so as to not lag behind. Let's stop taking L's. All we do is win. I will explain these lessons slowly. The conservative method. This is when you save money directly to the bank and using only the interest to invest in companies. So the average income was 24,000 and the minimum percentage of 20% which you are recommended to save. It can be more but not less than that. So we can calculate 24,000 multiplied by 20%, which gives us 4,800. This 4,800 is the amount you save in your flexible account, where it will receive an interest rate of 3.5%. If you want, you can transfer this monthly interest to your Easy Equities account. Now we go down with the first arrow. That 4,800 you will save for 12 months or up until December, provided that the amount saved by December is above 10,000, since that is the minimum amount required for you to open a fixed deposit account. So 4,800 multiplied by 12 will give us 57,600, which we then open a fixed deposit and throw that money there. That will enable it to receive an interest rate of 7.5%, and you will get 360 Rand per month, which you transfer to your Easy Equities account. Note that you will have to choose the option to receive interest in your bank account, because when you open a fixed deposit account, you can either receive the interest monthly or it can be reinvested with the principal amount, but that means it will mature when that principal amount matures. So when you use the interest and invest with it, it might grow at a very higher rate than it usually would if it's reinvested in the bank. The capitalization method. This is when a small portion of the amount you will save directly to the bank goes to your portfolio, and the bigger portion goes directly to your bank. So we are still using the same 24,000, and we know that 20% of that is 4,800. Now we will go on one step further and find what's 20% of 4,800 and what's 80% of 4,800. So we look at 20%, we go down with the arrow to 80-20 and shift to the left. So 20% of 4,800 is 960. This is the amount that will be transferred to your Easy Equities account. We then stop right there and we shift our sight to the right hand side. 80% of 4,800 is 3,840. And now we follow the same rules as the conservative method. So we move down 2 arrows. Now instead of 360, you will receive 288 rands per month, because every month you saved the 3,840, the remaining 960 went straight to your Easy Equities account. So in addition, while your money is in a flexible account, you can choose to transfer its interest to Easy Equities account as well. So after a year, we look at the arrows that are pointing, in the same direction, the 288 will be added to the 960, and that goes to your easy equities account. So these are just, it's like a guideline per se. You can replace the 24,000 with whatever amount you are earning per month, right? And then you can do the calculations by yourself. For those who have not, gotten into the workplace yet, or maybe next year you will start working, or the following year after, these lessons, you take them with you. And when you do start, you do know how to apply yourself financially so that you can give yourself room to grow. Moving on to a scenario I created so that you can visually understand what I'm trying to teach. So let me take my time with this one. Here I said, if for example your pay slip is 15,000 and you choose to save 5,000 monthly, which is 33.33%, this is what you should typically expect in the next 5 years and beyond. So when we look, there is months, January to December. There is a calculation column. These calculations happen at the end of the year when you are creating fixed deposit account, and also every time when the fixed deposit matures and you combine it with the amount you've been saving through the year. Then there's the investment portfolio column. This is where you would be transferring your interest gained every month into your easy equities. Now let's look at year 1 and observe from January to December. Each and every month you are saving 5,000. At the end, it adds up to 60,000 in the total column. Then in green, we are calculating the interest that will be gained for 1 year, and it's divided by 12 to spread it across 12 months. So when the second year begins, as you can see, year 2, and below that is year 1 interest, and it's 410 rand every month until maturity of the principal amount. So at the end of year 2, you have 60,000 saved, but also 60,000 from year 1 will be transferred back to your bank account because it would have matured. So 60,000 of year 1 added to 60,000 of year 2 will give you 120,000. And now you create a fixed deposit for 2 years. Why? Because it offers more interest, 8.7% compared to 8.2. So a fixed deposit for 1 year has a certain interest. For 2 years, the interest is greater than the 1 year. The 3 years is greater than the 2 years, and so on. So that means you will be receiving monthly interest for 2 years. That's why you can see 2 rows of 870 colored in purple. Now we are in year 3. We move across to the end. We have 60,000. But the 120,000 has not matured yet. Why? That's right. Because it's only been 1 year into the 2 years it's been invested for. So that means we open up a second fixed deposit for 1 year, just like in the green color. Why not 2 years, Mr. TalkFinance? Well, it's because of 2 reasons. The first one being the interest rate for 2 years for 60,000 is less than that of 240,000 when we will add the 120 plus the 60,000 of year 4 together with the current 60,000. So the second reason is we want it to mature with the 120,000 at the end of year 4. Now we are in year 4. Can you see you are receiving 2 interest amounts because you have 2 principal amounts deposited. At the end of year 4, this is where it gets interesting. So firstly, the 60,000 you have saved in year 4 will be added to the 60,000 of year 3 because it was only for 1 year. And finally, the 120,000 of year 2 plus 1, which was deposited at the end of year 2 for 2 years. So 2 plus 2 is 4 years. So it means the amount matures at the end of year 4. All of these amounts will give you 240,000 deposited into the bank for 5 years, and the cycle starts over again. Now it's not shown here, but notice that you will be receiving 2,000 every month for 5 years, and you have a net worth of 240,000. And your investment portfolio at the end of the 5th year will be worth 54,720, or even more, because your investment will also be giving you a rate or a return on investment. So now you are approximately 1/3 a millionaire. This is what you should be focusing on instead of owing people, instead of focusing on loans and all these things. So you should focus on building your net worth. The cost to retire in South Africa. Now that currently sits at 6 million. This is a guide to say this is how much you should be worth for your life to be smoother. So everyone watching this, set it as a target. Even I myself want to reach the 6 million in net worth as quickly as I can. And I want my peers and those who will come after you year after year after year to target this. That's why I bring all this knowledge to you, because my success will be determined by each and every one of you. So we are going to refer to tables 1 and 2. Table 2 shows you how much you should save every month starting at the different ages shown. Like 20 years of age, for example, is 1,720 compared to 30 years, which is 4,030. Now I'm going to use one row from both 1 and 2 to explain. So I will use 20 years. So you look at table 1, you see 20 years. You move across, even in table 2, it's 20 years in the same row. So when you look at 825,000 under invested amount, so the target is 60 years, right? So 60 minus 20 will give us 40 years. That's the time you have from age 20. We will then convert this to months by multiplying by 12 months, which will give us 480 months. So when you take 825,000 and divide it by 480, that will give you 1,718. But I round it up to 1,720. So you need to store away 1,720 for 480 months for you to accumulate 825,000. And while you are storing that, per month it will get interest, and in 40 years that annual interest of 8% as a target will give you 5,175,000. And that is shown in graph A. So when you look at that, you can see that the amount that invested is very small compared to the rate of return you will get over the 40 years. So your money will work for you to give you a greater return Why is this? This is because time is on your side. Because as you move up the years, you can see that you need more and more money invested for that money to give you a return that, when it's added, gives you the 6 million target. So graph 1 goes, sorry, table 1 goes with graph A, and table 2 goes with graph B. Graph B shows you the change in the amounts stored per month every time you delay. So from 20 to 30, it grows. From 30 to 40, it grows at a higher rate than 20 to 30. At 40 to 55, it's growing at an even extreme higher rate. So the more you wait, the more you will be required. That's why I say that life has become difficult for some over time. That is because all these things have been ignored. So just because you ignore them, it doesn't mean they are not approaching you as time moves forward. And then you get to a point where it's difficult for you to move financially because you have ignored all these processes that you would have benefited from greatly if you started when you were young. And now we are going to look at progress. Here I'm trying to present progress using these illustrations. We're only going to look at the top half. So you have the x-axis. We are looking on the left. You have the y-axis. X-axis is represented by time. Y-axis is represented by your results, your outputs, your achievements. C is the constant, which represents consistency. And right now it's at 0. And M is the speed of your progression. Now let's look at the right hand side. If we are going to use saving as a scenario, so we are looking at the positive progress. So we have two lines, A and B. And these lines represent two people and how they saved for 6 years. Money is shown by P and P comma. So A has saved at a higher rate than B in these 6 years. And if we shift the P to P comma, the green line, means that 6 years has become the new 0. This means that when we shift P to P comma is the new original P. So it's at 0 there. So at the new original point, we can also see the difference in consistency. So the constant is not at 0 anymore. There are two constants for these two people. So depending on your own efforts, right, it can largely pay off being consistent, because it means you will be on a higher foundation when you enter a different or a new stage in your life. Now, there was a comment, as you can see, a person asked, and I quote, "Speaking of the compound interest, if possible, could one of your next set of videos include a comparison of how quickly your returns on investment have compounding interest help reach the target of 6 million as compared to fixed interest?" So I will try and explain by doing a comparison of fixed interest and compound interest. So if we look at January, right, so there is 100 Rand and 100 Rand. These are the amounts that you would put. So let me say it like this. I'll be using compound interest and you'll be using fixed interest, and we will discuss the differences. So if in January we both put in 100 Rand each, and that's going to be fixed, that's our principal amount, and we will see what happens towards the end of the year. So fixed interest is the interest calculated on your principal amount. So whatever the balance is at each and every successive month, interest will always be calculated on that 100 Rand. Compound interest, on the other hand, will be calculated based on the latest balance. All right? So let's start with fixed interest. So if we are using 2%, so this will be a monthly interest rate of 2%. So every month it will be calculated at 2%. So February, it's 102. 2% of 100 is 2 Rand. You add that, March, it's 104. April, it's 106, 108, 110, and so on up until December at 122. Compound interest. So as I said, it's an interest calculated on your latest balance. So we'll start with 100 Rand. 2% of that would be 102. And then 2% of that and added to the 102 will then give you 104.04. Now, the portion that is highlighted in red, I'm trying to show you the difference or what happens during compounding. So in April, it's going to be 106.12. You get 2% of that, you add it to the balance. The next month, it's 108.24. The following month will be 110.40. Then it's 112.60, 114.85, and then now take a look. It's 117.15. Now the red has even highlighted a whole number. What I'm trying to say is from March it was working in the cents range. So it's compounding and compounding, and then it's September it started giving a whole number figure. So it changes the whole number itself. So Feb, it's 102, 102. March, it's 104, 104. So you can see that when you look at a value in the fixed, it's like it's the same in the compound, but up until August. So it was 114, 114, but when you look at September, it's 116, but now it's 117. So the compound effect started from the cents range, now it's affecting the whole number itself. So you look in October, instead of 118, it's now 119.50, 121.90, and then finally it's 124.34. So you can see at the end, the person with compound interest has 2 Rand and 34 cents more person with fixed interest. So as you go along, you will find that the red will start even covering the next digit. So now it starts compounding, and then over time it starts affecting the whole amount. So the amount will just be red. So that is the power of compounding. So in simple terms, fixed interest is a linear growth, and compounding interest is an exponential growth. And that brings us to the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and like, and most importantly, share this information with friends, family, and those around you. And the most important thing of all is that whatever you have learned here, keep it with you. Remember it. And if it's more or less of a current situation, implement it in your life. And it's very, very important that you improve yourself as an individual. It doesn't have anything to do with anyone else, it has everything to do with you.